Logan Paul is still out here scamming. Absolutely nothing new.
6 months ago, I investigated CryptoZoo, a scam created by Logan Paul and a team of criminals, and a dude named Jeff, which ultimately resulted in millions of dollars being stolen from fans. I was threatened with a lawsuit for exposing it, but ultimately, Logan Paul decided to thank me instead for his public undressing and announced a $1.8 million refund to the victims. Now, I thought that was a great ending to the story. But I also said this: I'll follow up in the future to make sure that he actually gives that money away. And that's why we're here today.
Spoiler, he doesn't.
It's been 6 months, so here's a follow-up. Logan Paul has not paid back his victims. He hasn't talked about it since he first announced he was going to pay them back. And what's worst of all, he doesn't seem to have a plan in place to refund anyone.
Dude, actual scumbag. What is wrong with this guy? Apparently this guy made like $40 million. I saw like an article. He made like $40 million just from his like Prime sales, like going global and all that. And this dude can't refund literally $1 or $2 million out of that. This guy's an actual scumbag, and he scammed his fans for all this money, man.
How do I know that? Well, because I've been asking Logan for that plan to refund people the entire time behind the scenes in messages like these. Quote, "Hey Logan, following up on the zoo refunds, when should people expect those? It's been about a month."
Never,
and then a
basically.
month later, following up again. People are wondering what's going on. Almost been 2 months. Very frustrating for victims to get promises and then see nothing and get zero communication.
Nothing new from Logan here.
And then later, "Hey Logan, following up for a third time, it's been over 5 months since you promised to refund the victims of CryptoZoo over $3 million. I meant to say $1.8 million there. The price of crypto changed a lot, so what this buyback was going to be was constantly changing. I just misspoke there. Either way, my point was this, quote, "You haven't contacted any of them, nor explained why you haven't done what you said you'd do. Meanwhile, you got public credit for promising to do this."
Okay, this is classic Logan, you know? Appeal to the public, make that video being like, I'm definitely paying back everybody, guys, and then behind the scenes do absolutely nothing. Know that it's just gonna pass like everything else because he's got his wrestling bullshit going on, he's got his Prime going on, and he's just soaring out there in the sky with all of his businesses, his podcast, all of that, and nobody's gonna give a shit because the internet has a memory of a goldfish, and we can't actually hold people accountable who deserve to be held accountable. There's only people like CoffeeZilla out here doing God's work. He literally got threatened with a lawsuit as well, and it's like he's still fighting this. As mad respect there.
And all of this, Logan didn't respond to, which is odd since he was such a fan of me reaching out to him personally. You know, instead of making things public.
Maybe we could have talked about this if you had reached out to me personally.
Of
not
course.
my manager, Jeff, who is not me, Steven.
Well, I did reach out to you, and I got no response. In fact, the
Exactly,
only response
like-
I got came on my 4th attempt to reach Logan, but this one came from his criminal defense lawyers. A guy named Jeffrey Neiman emailed me after my 4th attempt saying, "Steven, see inserted on behalf of Logan Paul." Now, to be honest, I had no idea
Logan.
who Logan Paul was until I researched the lawyer and learned that he, quote, regularly defends individuals and corporations in white-collar criminal litigations.
That says
And that's
criminal.
when I realized, oh, that Logan Paul. Why didn't you just say you defended alleged white-collar criminals?
Seems like
Would have saved me a Google
seems like a really trustworthy guy when he misspells your name,
search.
you know?
So I opened up the letter and it read, "We represent Logan Paul. Mr. Paul has informed us of your outreach about the status of the CryptoZoo buybacks. Mr. Paul remains committed to this process. We are working with Mr. Paul to evaluate the best way to achieve this goal. In the meantime, please direct to our attention any further inquiries to Mr. Paul. Thank you for your patience and understanding." Now, that might seem like a good step in the right direction to you. At least we got a response on behalf of Logan. But when I read their response carefully, I realized things were actually worse than I thought. Because 2 things are absent from this statement. 1, a timeline for refunds, and 2, a plan for refunds.
Of course he has no plan. He's just been dodging this the entire time. An actual scumbag. He's just trying to figure out a way with his lawyers to not pay back any of this money, despite the fact that this wouldn't hurt him in the slightest. Like, it's ridiculous how evil these fucking money hungry scumbags are, dude. I hate it. I hate the fact that half the internet actually likes Logan Paul now, just because he's like partnered with KSI and stuff. And I hate the fact that people like KSI just look past all of the shit. Like, I like KSI as a YouTuber, as a person. He's a pretty inspirational character. But then, you know, sometimes they just turn a blind eye just to make extra money. Obviously, you know, partnering with Logan is the best business decision he's ever made. He's making like hundreds of millions of dollars off of Prime. But you know who your business partner is. You know it's a scam. You know he's actually like ripped off innocent fans like this. It's so disgusting that you're like continuing to work with him, not even calling him out. It's, I don't know. I feel like you're selling yourself for money here for sure.
I mean, you have this abominable statement which says we are working with Mr. Paul to evaluate the best way
That's
to
lawyer
achieve
talk.
his goal. So you're still at the whiteboard then. Guys, this is a statement you say when you have no plan or you're stalling, right? You say, we're evaluating the best options. I mean, that's where Logan was back in January. He was evaluating. Am I supposed to believe 6 months later, you guys haven't figured
6 months
this
of
out? You
evaluating,
gathered all the
guys.
boys in the office, brainstorming every single day. How do we refund people? And you don't know? I mean, listen, he had more of a plan, Logan did, back in January. I'm not even sure what there is to even still figure out, because way back then, January 16th, he said, I've committed more than 1.8 million for those who do not want to wait for CryptoZoo to be completed.
He
Players
says
will be
do
able
not want to
burn
wait
their
as
base
well. He
eggs
knows
and-
how like urgent this is and that he might have like ruined people's lives here. And it's like, it's been 6 months, man. Fucking hell.
base animals for their mint
Feels
price.
so bad for the
I mean, there it is.
victims.
That's the plan. Pay a blockchain dev to code that up and pay the victims their money. That's it. But we see absolutely no sign of that. And it's not for a lack of Logan having the cash. He's on a world tour for Prime right now, bragging about how much money his drink company is making.
This is like 40
In
million,
January of
bro.
this year, we did 45 million.
What the
only in January.
Yeah.
Wow, 45 million is a good month. Also, January happens to be the same month Logan promised those.
That was 1 month, dude. 1 month. So technically, if you made 45 million in a month, okay, I know all of it doesn't go to him and there's business expenses. Just for this hypothetical, let's say. That means if you divide that by 30, that's like $1 million a day. So this is 1 day of work for you that you're not refunding. 1 day. How ridiculous is that? I know it's not actually 1 day and he doesn't make $1 million a day, but just saying, like 1 million is nothing to this guy. Absolutely nothing.
CryptoZoo refunds. So there's no good explanation for why Logan hasn't refunded his victims yet, because he had a plan back in January. He had the money, but there's even
Disgusting.
less of a good explanation for why he hasn't explained himself for the delay to either me privately or to the victims publicly, who are just
Oh my God.
waiting around.
Yo, give me my goddamn refund. I just want communication on the refund. Refund us. When refund? When
around
refund?
for months with no word about the status of their promised refund.
Let
Now,
me. Okay.
eventually, I do believe Logan will address this. I think he has to. And when he does, I think he'll probably point to a lawsuit that he's in for the reason he couldn't speak. He had to be silent. Only he's tried this before, and it didn't make a lot of sense then either.
I had to rely on my team. I crumbled internally, and the advice was while actual legal process was going on because of criminal investigation taking place that CoffeeZilla highlighted in his series, I had to stay silent. And for a year, I'm hounding Jeff.
Oh yeah, you were hounding him, huh?
hounding Jeff. How
Hounding
do we
him.
make this right?
That's
All right,
why
let's
6
get
months
this
of
straight.
silence.
Logan was dying to make CryptoZoo right the first time, but was legally required to be silent until a YouTuber talked about it? Did the judge magically unseal his lips when my video dropped? I'm confused.
Judge is a
He's
big
not
fan.
prevented from explaining himself, and he's certainly not legally prevented from giving people their money back. Even if you want to argue the point that maybe Logan might look more guilty if he promises to pay victims, well, sure, but he already did that though. He said he felt so bad that he was going to refund $1.8 million to the affected people.
Dude, there's a special place in hell for people like Logan Paul. All right, there is no coming back from this. There is no mercy. This is just like, I don't know. If there's a higher power, come on, we got him. We got him, boys. He's like caught in 4K. Come on, what is going on here, dude? Disgusting.
Add any layer of admission to that guilt. He already said he was responsible, at this point, Refunding people is just doing what he said he was going to do from the beginning. No, I think the real reason Logan hasn't paid, if I had to guess, is just because either he does not want to pay, he cannot be bothered to pay on time, or he's just stalling. All of which are unacceptable.
Horrible, yeah.
Because let me remind you of his promise. Quote, I have committed more
You
than
brought this up like
$1.8
so many
million
That's true.
for those who do not want to wait
Man.
for CryptoZoo to be completed. That is what he said, and the people are tired of waiting, including me. After months of trying to work behind the scenes and ask questions behind the scenes privately to him,
God
I'm
expose
just
him.
out of ideas, and I'm stuck trying to speak to Logan in the only language I believe he understands. Self-interest. Logan, if I could speak to you for a second.
Ooh.
Okay, bring in the camera. This isn't worth your time. Getting publicly flogged like this every 6 months? What are we going to be doing this in a year? No. Okay? It's not worth your time. It's barely worth my time. Just please pay the people back what you owe. Give them a real timeline, a real plan, and then we can all go back to pretending you've changed.
Oh my god, that was so good. Pretending you've changed. That's what it's always gonna be. I don't think people like Logan Paul genuinely change. We knew he was an absolute egomaniac the second he did that shit in the Japanese forest, right? This guy is just 100% scumbag.